Hey guys, it's Jennie with the Wolek Group, Keller Williams Realty here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm here with Peter Chabris out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and super excited. We're going to touch on the topic of Shift Tactic 10, creative financing. And most importantly, we're going to dive into some topics that are really important to you, Peter, and I know is so important to other agents, other professionals, other humans, really.
Yes, totally. All humans are susceptible to this stuff. So absolutely.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for being with me. I'm going to let you share your elevator pitch. Who are you? Where are you?
Oh,
What's your production look like? Why are you valid for people to listen to when it comes to having a big life in real estate and having a big business while also taking care of yourself and your family?
yeah. So production first. The Chabris Group, we're in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we're the top sales team in our region, which is pretty fun to say. Last year we closed last 12 months we closed 431 homes for 96 million in volume. It was 2.55 in GCI, 2.55 million in GCI. I'm the operating principal of Keller Williams Seven Hills Realty in Kenwood. And let's see what else. MAPS Mastery Coach. I wrote the MAPS group coaching program on customer experience.
Yeah.
I'm an investor in Keller Williams London Bridge, which is a market center in London. I coach the OP there. Gary's Mastermind, and Keller Williams University Master Faculty. So those are kind of the hats that I wear at Keller Williams.
That's it.
That's all.
Well, what's fun is, we actually met. You may not remember this.
I do remember this.
Well, we met a couple years ago when the labs process was just starting. It was when the floods were happening and Mega Camp was kind of adjusted and pivoted back then to Mega Relief. And we got to meet at one of the first labs early on. It was
the referrals lab. I remember crystal clear. Absolutely.
It was so fun. And I just loved getting to know you, and what an honor to get to hang out with you, even for a small bit of time at the airport, because you just sparked my mind, and thank you for that. So
you remember that conversation?
Yeah. I've been getting busy. You told me to get busy, so I've been getting
good.
busy.
Awesome. Well, it seems to be working. Your business is doing great. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. So let's just touch on, because I shared with everybody that may be watching, is I had started this book club on Shift before this new world that we're in now. And so I just got to get through it. I've been stuck on tactic 10 for a while because nobody's like, yay, pick me to talk about creative finance.
Creative financing, yeah.
Especially with what we have going on right now, we're not really having that same experience. So I want you to share your experiences from the last time that you went through this to now, how you're teaching, training, and sharing and motivating your team and people around you. How are you being a leader? And we can touch on the creative financing piece just for a minute and then move on to the other good stuff.
Well, why don't we do creative financing first? Let's check the box.
Okay.
The funny thing is, in this chapter, the first paragraph has 3 sentences that I think are pretty important right now to how relative this chapter is or is not to what we're experiencing right now. And that is that affordability is the ultimate indicator of where a market is going, right? It says affordability is the juice that makes the market go or stop. When affordability is up, the market goes up. When it's down, the market goes down. So we all assumed that the market would tank as soon as coronavirus, kind of the economic impact hit the economy. But 2 things happened that prevented that. The first one was the CARES Act injected so much cash into the economy, $1.5 trillion, $2 trillion. So that's flowed the economy for almost 90 days now. And the second thing is that quantitative easing continues to happen. So interest rates have been driven down. We've had clients lock in below 2.5% on a 30-year fixed. So even though prices, so in Cincinnati, we historically appreciate 3% per year. We're appreciating it anywhere from 5 to 8% right now. So you should think that affordability should go down, but because interest rates have dropped from 4.5% to 2.5%, actually affordability is higher now than it has been in the last 3 or 4 years. So creative financing isn't really going to be a demand on our skill set in the short term. Now, what may happen is people start losing jobs when the forbearance comes and goes, right? A mandatory 6 months, possibility to extend another 6 after that. When that runs its way through, and when 11% unemployment catches up with the economy, then we'll probably start seeing some changes, and then maybe creative financing conversations become more germane. But right now, it's just not something that we need to be thinking about a whole lot. If anything, we should be thinking about how does a buyer increase their purchasing power. And the best play from the playbook in that chapter is probably to see if they can find lenders that will do fixed rate mortgages beyond 30-year amortization in order to reduce the payment so they can get into something bigger. But they've got to be committed to doing that for at least 5 to 10 years to make sure they'll weather whatever cycle is coming up, sometime in the next 6 to 18 months.
So something I want to add in, and it's not really related to this, and I think it's still important. Our local market center for the past 2 days have been doing team meeting Zooms with the topics of what you need to know about the forbearance, foreclosure, short sales, and REOs, because this is a whole new language that and types of properties that we may be seeing in the near future, and newer agents don't know what these things are. And so my words to the wise, to the agents watching, was stay in your lane. And if this isn't your field or of expertise, find that agent in your office that's great at that and knows how to do it, because there's a lot of responsibility, time, energy, and money. So do you have any ideas on that to help agents who haven't lived through a shift before?
Well, there's no shift coming in the short term, right? The shift, we feel like we're in a shift because the inventory is so stinking tight. How many months worth of inventory do you guys have in Tulsa?
Yeah. Lowest ever, like 2.
Yeah. We're under a month now. In Cincinnati, it's never happened before. We're like 3.5 weeks worth of inventory. So it feels like a shift because there's not enough houses to go around. So more than ever, this becomes a listings game. It always has been. It's just that the people that started playing the listings game before this happened are having the time of their lives, right? Yeah. When forbearance passes and the massive gap between the perceived economy of the moment and the actual economy of the moment, there's this huge gap between Wall Street and Main Street right now, right? And putting politics aside, there's a lot on the line for any incumbent president to get reelected, right? 3 to 5 months before the election happens. And so there's a lot of activity that's being done to sustain an economy through a federal election. So when some of those things work through the system, we are going to find we're at, I think, 10.2% unemployment now. It's important to remember that during the Great Recession, right, the worst housing market in this country's history, the Great Recession statistically was worse for the real estate industry than the Great Depression was. So it's important to remember that during the Great Recession, the highest that unemployment went was 9.9%, and we're at 10.2% right now. Right. So something's got to give, and something will give at some point in time. And when that happens and forbearance comes and goes, then it's going to become a short sale game. And you asked, what did we do to thrive during the Great Recession? That was one of the, you nailed it, Jennie. Choosing to stay in your lane becomes really important. And it was really tempting as I was trying to grow a business to get into short sales. And I negotiated a couple and realized this is madness. It's a horrible use of your time unless you're doing it all the time. So I paid somebody to handle all the short sales that we took, and we took a ton of listings. I probably was paying somebody to do, without exaggerating, somewhere between 30 and 40 short sale negotiations per year. But that's what you did, because you still got great buyers and you still did the deal. And frankly, if you've got someone doing a short sale, pricing is easy. And so it's easy to price a property properly to get it to sell quickly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just wanted to pick your brain on that for a minute. I knew that you, without any script, you could handle me throwing that at you. So
sure.
Let's dive into something that's really near and dear to your heart, which is making sure that we've been, 5 months now in this world of, like I shared with you, I've been sitting in the same space right here on Zoom all day long. My body aches when I get up. And I think that, so many of us are not remembering to take care of ourselves. So what do you want to talk about on that?
So, it's funny. I think as a species, we have innovated way faster than we've been able to evolve. And all of this evolution, innovation over the past 30 years, especially over the past 3 years, our attention has been hijacked, and our mental constitutions have been ground up because we're constantly on demand. We have devices that are designed specifically to agitate, our hippocampus, the back of our brain, and so we are addicted to these devices. They're constantly competing for attention. And what happens in the course of that, what happens to us is we lose the ability to have downtime and be calm and recharge. And recharging isn't just sleeping. Our brain needs time to kind of switch off and rest and recharge so that we can do our creative thinking, so that we can do our lateral thinking, so that we can think and connect the dots and do the best work our brains have been evolved for. So that's just a side note. In addition to that, so that's always on. The point of that is always on. Now, take yourself out of your normal environment and put yourself at home, and all of a sudden there are no bookends to your day. Bookends are really kind of a luxury in the real estate industry anyway, right? But when you roll out of bed and you look at your phone, the first thing you do is you go into work mode, and home is your office. You're never away from the office, so you keep looking at your phone and you keep doing work things all day long up until the time that you go to sleep. But what happens is your brain doesn't have a chance to recharge. And very quickly, your entire day gets hijacked by digital demands masked as work. It's really not work. It's just digital flashes that are meant to be addicting and capture your attention, and it prevents you, it hijacks your ability to recharge. So what are the things that we talk about? We talk a lot about bookends. And one of the things when coronavirus happened and we all went home, our team put the pedal down. We have never worked more aggressively, more intentionally, more intensely. And we did at least 40 sales per month for 3 months straight. 1 month we hit 55, another one we hit 40, 46, I think. I mean, it was really intense. And what happened was everybody hit the wall in June. And in May, we started talking about bookends. And the bookend concept is, don't pick up your phone when you wake up. Have a ritual where you get to be you for a little bit before your day starts. Sorry, I'm doing it. Where you get to be you before your day starts. And then you have your day. And then at the end of the day, there needs to be another bookend, which is a signal to your brain that, okay, we're done. Everything will still be here tomorrow. I've done all the things I need to do. I've fought the good fight. Now I need to stop. And that stopping point is where you go for a jog, you meditate, you cook dinner outside, whatever it is that you do to have that ritual that says, okay, brain, it's time to rest. It's time to remember that people matter and relationships matter, and all those other things need to be attended to now. So that was the concept of bookends. And we talked a lot about that. And then we talked about the MRE energy plan. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
You are. Would it be worth sharing that with anyone that's watching this right now?
You know what? It's in every training and everything I do. It's on page 308. And so I feel it's very valuable. So go ahead and share why it's important and how you put it into your day.
So the MRE energy plan basically says there's five sources of energy that you need to attend to every day. The first one is meditation or prayer. That's your spiritual energy. The second one is exercise and food. That's like your physical energy, your fuel. Hugging, kissing, and laughing. That's your emotional energy. You're planning the day and calendaring. That's your mental energy. And then lead generation is your business energy. And the concept is you do all 5 of those things before noon, before 11 o'clock, technically. So we talk a lot about that on our team about self-care, is making sure you get in the energy, the spiritual energy, the mental energy, the physical energy, and the emotional energy before we did so at 9 o'clock, we would start our role play. And then at 9:30, we'd start our lead generation on Zoom. It was really important that everybody have all that stuff done prior to 9 a.m. when we got started, with the exception of the lead gen. And then we would lead gen together. And that was really helpful. So, I think that matters. And I think in the end, you've got to pick a ritual that you can maintain every single day at the end of the day. to create a firm stop so that you don't burn out, because people burn out. These Zooms are dumb. They're horrible. They're exhausting. And all this virtual work, our brains are working harder to track the nonverbal communication over screens that comes naturally to us without having to work when we're face to face. And so buyer consultations and listing consultations and accountability meetings and role playing, all this stuff on video, it's great. I'm happy it's here, but it's mentally taxing. And so we have to create space through our day and then a bookend at the end of the day. Now, that doesn't mean that you get to horse around. You still got to do your job. You just got to bring your A game. If you're going to continue to do your A game, you've got to have bookends to recharge on both ends. Okay, blah, blah, blah. That was a lot of words.
I love the bookends. I think that'll be, the hashtag for this time here today, because it's so important of a start time and an end time. And I think that it has gotten really out of control for lots of us because, like you said, you're still here and it's still there, and let's just knock it out now so I don't have to get up so early in the morning or whatever. So let's touch on ideas and ways that people, because we're about to have schools go back either in person or virtual or whatever it is. And I'm already dreading it because I haven't needed to drive my daughter to school since mid-March. So I've gotten into action. I've been more productive because I'm not driving an hour of my day round trip. What's going to happen, and how are you going to coach your team and others on that balance when you may have kids at home or a new world again?
That's hard, isn't it? And I'm a dad. I'm not a mom. I'm not the primary caregiver in my family, so I'm not sure I'm qualified to give advice on that. Jennie, 2 years ago, 21 months ago, I started meditating, and it's 20 minutes in the morning, it's 25 minutes in the morning and 25 minutes in the afternoon, right? So that's an hour lost every single day. And the funny thing is that I'm way more efficient than I ever was when I wasn't meditating. And my clarity of thought and my ability to make critical decisions and my ability to focus and prioritize, relate to people has all improved. My mental acuity has increased with the meditation. And so my point on that is that rituals create efficiencies. And I think rituals have gone out the window with all of us working at home, because rituals can get hijacked when you have all the domestic, I keep using that word, rituals can, productivity rituals can be disrupted by domestic behaviors, right? And so I think that having rituals matters. And I think that losing time driving your kids to drop them off, if you couple that with some sort of activity that creates clarity of thought before your day starts, you're actually going to find your efficiency increase, which is counterintuitive, but it works really, really well. And you'll be much more productive in a shorter period of time, and you'll actually be more present with your family. We went back to the office. Our team started being a team again in June. And it took us about almost 2 months to kind of get our act back together, right? Yeah. But now we're back, and we're back in the zone. We've got all of our habits back together. We've got our rituals, and we're cranking. And the efficiencies that each of us is realizing now, horsing around with driving into the office and the distractions we all create for each other, the time lost driving in, the distractions that we create for other, pale in comparison to the increased productivity that we're getting from getting back to our group rituals. So I wouldn't see that. I wouldn't allow myself to perceive back to school, back to work rituals as a time suck. I actually think they're going to be empowering, because all of us at home have been disrupted constantly from our productivity.
Well, and I don't know if you've noticed this, being at home all this time with my 13-year-old daughter. Today we drove to pick up her girlfriend, which is about the amount of drive time that we would typically have. And we talked the whole time, and she shared with me. So I think that's where, as we've had this stay-at-home time with our families and we've gotten into good family habits, those are the things that we can keep.
100%. Totally. There's so much greatness around this crisis. You know, I studied Chinese in college as my major, and the word for crisis in Chinese is two words combined. It's wei ji, and wei is from wei xian, which means dangerous, and ji is ji hui, which means opportunity. So the Chinese word for crisis literally is dangerous opportunity. And when we allow ourselves to see the opportunity and the potential in whatever moment we find ourselves in, that determines how we respond, and our response is what determines the trajectory of our lives, right? It's not the stimulus, it's how we respond to it. And there's been so much greatness around coronavirus, and rebonding with your family is one of them, and reestablishing family rituals and understanding where technology can be used to save time. But it also can grind us up if we don't stay human and we don't stay connected.
So here's where I want to go with this next line of questioning that just popped into my little brain. So you are super amazing, successful at this point. And I just, take it, and you've got your list of all these accomplishments and a successful team and dad and life, everything. And maybe some people are watching who are like, oh, someday that's me. And I've been in this a long time as well. And I know that this business can eat us up. And that's why I think the self-care was important for you to talk about today. Yep. So we're going to get back into whatever is going to be life and whatever it looks like. And many real estate agents may find that they're going to burn out. And so what do you suggest and what do you recommend to agents who have big dreams and goals, and they just burn it because they want to achieve all this greatness like you've achieved, and yet they really don't know why they're doing it or what to do. They just go really fast.
Yeah, that's real too, isn't it? Because I was that guy. I mean, just relentless lead generation, relentless pushing, relentless building. And Jennie, I think that, you've taken quantum leap. The concept of balance is false, right? I think there are seasons in our life when the right thing to do is to be out of balance. When the investment that you make is in career and finance. And the earlier you do that, the better. I got a late start. And so I had to pay a higher price for the time that I took to do that. There is a time where massive action yields massive results. And until you've gotten massive results, your only other option is massive action. If that's what you want, right? And massive results means different things for different people, but there is a time for massive action until you achieve massive results. What happens is the fuel that we use to get massive results through massive action oftentimes can be a little toxic, right? My fuel was anger. And that worked super well until it didn't, and it started consuming me. And your fuel could be adrenaline, and that's addictive. Adrenaline is right. There's adrenaline junkies, and that can be addictive. And what can happen in the process is that your health starts to suffer, and your relationships suffer, and you kick the dog, and you drink too much, and you miss family moments, and all that stuff is real. So I think for type A's, which I'm sure the majority of the people who are in this Zoom, there is time for massive action, and that's a real thing. During times of massive action, you have to schedule downtime, and downtime is bookends. For me, I'm more of a sprinter than a marathon runner. So for me, I sprint 3 months, and then I take at least a week vacation. If I go longer than 3 months without a week vacation, I get mean. And then our listing specialists on our team who are grinding right now, they're in that massive action time of their lives. They do a week of vacation every 3 months, and they also take a 3-day weekend where they don't turn their phones on because it's push. So you got to respect your boundaries. Oh, where was I going with that? I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. The last concept here is once you've gotten the massive results, we all get we are all, your brain kind of gets in this rut of massive action, right?
Yeah.
But you got to stop that, because at some point, massive action is actually the worst thing you could do. Massive action precludes you from doing the 1% changes, right? If you read like Atomic Habits, once you're in massive results, you just got to keep that ball spinning, and you're just doing 1% changes at a time. And too many of us get caught up in massive action and don't get into the 1% changes. 1% changes is through leverage. 1% changes is through your morning energy plan. 1% changes is through your diet. 1% changes is through empowering others around you. 1% changes is journaling. All those 1% changes, that's where you go like this.
Yeah.
Because if you keep doing massive action, you're going to go like this, and then you're going to plateau off, because there's not enough time or energy in a day to keep doing more massive action. Massive action implies that you're doing massive amounts. You can't massive plus massive. That's called a heart attack.
Yeah, I was going to say massive heart attack goes right along with
that's exactly
massive
right.
action. So that's what seems to happen. And you are a KWU instructor, so I'm certain you've taught 6 personal perspectives, and you were reminding me of going from E to P. And that's where people keep hitting that ceiling of achievement. Mm-hmm. And instead of breaking through because they get more purposeful, instead they go, well, forget it. I'm just done with this. So they go from real estate to insurance sales, and they do the same exact thing, hit to the same exact ceiling. And so, that's where I think the message is to those that may be watching with us is this is an amazing industry where we are paid in direct proportion to the service that we provide. And we also, our income potential is really limitless. And so, which also can make it quite chaotic and messy for so many. And so my goal personally is to always empower agents to have this counterbalanced life, because now I'm at an age where I am a little older and wiser and see what they're doing. And I am the tortoise rather than the hare. And I do have a plan, and it's slow and steady. And it just has taken me longer to get here. So any final words in your wisdom that, as you've been that sprinter, you had massive action, and you realized finally that's not the way to do it. What did it take, or what do you recommend others discover or figure out about themselves?
I didn't do it my way because I went up in the hospital, so I wouldn't suggest you do it my way.
Well, that needs to be shared, right? Like, that's important for people to understand that can happen.
It absolutely can. I mean, the reality is that I'm assuming it's high D's and high achievers on this Zoom. We're in a culture of achievement. KW is a culture of achievement, and we all walk around and talk about units sold and volume and GCI and profitability, and it's all awesome. I love it. But it's also possible to be consumed by an environment that encourages ambition. This is mostly KW agents, right?
Well, my personal page, and
Oh, okay. So
the world.
Well, that's part of what KW is. I'm not going to apologize for it. It's awesome. The trick with that is that there are so many opportunities for wealth building and achievement and growth. When you get people up on stage that look like they've got their acts together and it's all awesome, that it's really easy to get out of balance. And the best way, one of the things that Gary tells us in his masterminds, and it's in the One Thing, is you want a big life. The way to get a big life isn't to pursue everything all at once, which is exactly what I tried to do. The way you have a big life is by getting really small and doing one thing at a time. And you do massive action to get to that one thing. And then you just keep 1%ing it, right? What's the next little thing that I can tweak to make everything better? And over time, those opportunities are put in your lap. I didn't believe it for the longest time until it started to happen. And so coronavirus is not over. This crisis that our country, this pandemic that our country finds ourselves in, this isn't ending. This is not over when kids go back to school. The next wave of it starts when more people contract it, because kids are just going to carry the stuff across family lines and across town lines and all this stuff. This isn't over. It probably won't be over next year. it's a highly fluid part of a highly fluid time in our country's history. And that fluidity gives permission for all of us to reevaluate how are we living our lives, what's our value system, what can I change about my business, because everything is so fluid. There's so much permission, so to speak, to try different things, be different things, do different things, whether it's with your business, whether it's with your friendships, whether it's with your family, whether it's with yourself and how you define yourself. There's so much fluidity right now that all of us have the opportunity to question who we are, what we want to do, how we want to pursue it, and actually go after those changes, because judgment is so much lower right now because no one knows what they're doing. We all have our heads up our asses. And so the opportunity to take risks with yourself in your life has never been more accessible. And I guess that would be the last thought I would leave with is, what a gift to reinvent and to give ourselves permission to evolve.
That's a great ending. Just making sure that we are caring about others, that we're connecting, that we're being, great humans to each other with grace through all these changes. Because like you said, I mean, this is a great time to reset if you need to. I love that so much. I'm just going to end us here.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, great.
I've had an amazing time chatting with you, and I'm going to go back and take amazing notes. Thank you for all you've shared, Peter. You are a gem.
My pleasure.
And
Thanks for having me.
And I look forward to seeing you in person again with a real hug someday.
One of these days, whenever that is. I'm looking forward to it too.
Someday.
Thanks, Jennie.
Well, I appreciate you. If you guys need anything, just reach out. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks, guys.